Okay, here's my brand new axle I ordered in from a 2006 Toyota Sequoia. I was trying to, I got tired of trying to disassemble the other thing, but I noticed on the axle, the old axle had too much rust on the inside, so I decided to just go ahead and order me a new axle assembly so I can get this thing back together. Got it here. UPS brought it here. Box had been crushed in on the top, hole knocked in on the side, and before I could get the box open, UPS was gone. Boy, I was happy to get my box in because I wanted to get my car back on the road, and been down for 2 weeks. And Dorman is a good product. 926177 is the rear axle assembly for the driver's side. They're a good product, got a good warranty on it. But you know, you can have the best product in the world, and if the people don't watch over it and take care of it while it's being shipped, it don't mean nothing, because it's obvious that something got stacked on top of this and bent the top of the braking plate in. And the way you got to replace these braking plates is you had to disassemble everything. And I'm back to square one where I was. Back to square one. It's just frustrating when the more you try to do do right, the more problems you face. But that's just an odd thing that you can't take the backing plate off unless you totally disassemble the axle. And most of the time when you disassemble the axle, you're going to be applying some pressure on them bearings back inside. So there we go. And it's very hard. There's my axle. That's another thing. An oddball axle mounting. It's too narrow at the top and too wide at the bottom. Most axle flanges has got a square that I've ever seen. A square with 4 bolts. And this one here's got 4, all right, but and trying to find a puller for that, boy, that's just something else. That's just something else, trying to get the pullers for this. It's odd, very odd. Nice, good car. I like Toyota Sequoia, 2006 model. I've got good service out of this vehicle. It's very dependable, but trying to work on some of the things is terrible, very terrible. I'll show you what I'm talking about right quick. If I get down here to my building. I get frustrated every time I turn around. I'm trying to fix something, and most of my time is consumed with trying to get parts or a special tool to repair something. It's always a distraction or aggravation, and I'm approaching 70 years old, and I don't got time for all this. I'm trying to get my stuff done. And here's my Toyota axle I took off, and I got this tool. This tool works. I got this off of eBay. Now I did have to drill an extra hole in it. I got this off of eBay for about 70 bucks. Got that flange, this other flange. I found that it was easier to remove the 4 bolts on this flange here that goes back up into the axle assembly and let the plate drop down. That way you could take your bolts, get you some, I use 7/16. I took 7/16, and you can put them back up in there. Let's see. Oh, I was doing it that way. I always drop them down and put the nuts from the bottom going through the flange up here, going through the flange, and then dropping back down I'll show you right quick. Line it up. We want to get it lined up all right. You got your 2 wide ones. That's where we go. Well, then I take these 7/16 bolts with washers behind them and drop them down. Drop them down like that. Then put some backing washers on them down here. Well, you tighten all that down. Press up here. And then put this part right here into your press. And I'm telling you, I had no problem getting all the other stuff off except this one retainer. That bottom retainer is terrible. I'm getting ready to heat it up and try to assemble it back fast to put it in the press, because I've done put it in the press and it wouldn't come up. There's not very much room to do on this, unless I was thinking about getting me some sort of stud extenders where this plate would then set on top of here and give me some room. So when this would come down, I want it to leave some room. I want it to leave some room about like that, and that way I could take my torch. With a fine bead on the acetylene torch. I could take a fine bead and run around this retainer and heat it up while it's in the press. And then press it out, because I'm going to tell you. Now this is actually a 16-ton. Oh, I've had this press 20 or 30 years, and it's always worked fine. Back when Harbor Freight wasn't even hardly known. You had to order everything out of California to get it. Harbor Freight products. But it's a 16-ton, but I got a 20-ton jack in it. You can put any kind of jack you want to in it. But I put a 20-ton jack, make it do better. But even with that, these are 3/4 inch bars. Slide them bars in. And I'll be dog. With the bracket up there and pressing it down, like I said, I had no problem getting all the other stuff off except that one retainer. That dang retainer just don't want to budge, but I have not heated it yet. So I'm going to, my next step is to try to heat this up while it's sitting in there and then press on it. I've seen one video on there where somebody heated the retainer up and it dropped off. But I just want to heat it enough to where I can press it off. And but it's just an oddball flange. Never seen that before. My history of working on vehicles, never seen that. But this cheaper tool does work. It does bolt up. I had to drill, like I said, I had to drill an extra hole in it. It will bolt up as long as you drop this plate down and go through the top with your bolts. So like I said, go through the top through the bracket and then bolt it up that way. That will bolt flush. It will bolt flush against that. If you leave this plate up, what it does, it creates some unequal ridges where it flops, where this mount flops. Or then you have to stack washers on top up here to rise it up above this particular ridge over here. So I figured, drop the plate, and it works a whole lot better. And it will go into the press lined up equally, and you can get that stuff off. Like I said, I don't know if they put some sort of dang Loctite on that or not, but buddy, that is one hard thing to remove. Maybe if you had it in a 40-ton press, one of these big ones at a shop, it might pop it right out, but That just seems like a lot of pressure. I had bigger bearings than that on tractor equipment that I had to press out bearings. I've had bigger equipment than that, and they popped right out. I just don't like the oddball bolting flange up. Anyway, like I said, my biggest disappointment is getting that package in from UPS, because my hopes was, after fooling around with this, and I did discover this thing mostly was leaking gear oil through the first recessed seal up into the axle. It was leaking gear oil, would come in and fill up in here, and it would wash the grease out. Well, then once it started washing the grease out, there's another seal down in here that's supposed to keep it from not coming out and getting on your parking brake and dripping. But I noticed there was a lot of rust off down in here on different portions. There was a lot of rust, so I figured it got up there where the seal runs, that other inner seal up in there. I figured they got some rust and must have eat that out a little bit and was causing it to leak up there also. So I said, I'll just order me a new axle. I got that one for like $359. And a Dorman 926177, I think, which got a good warranty and everything on it. I figured, why not? Gets in the day, I'll throw it in, get my brakes put back on. I'll be ready to go in probably an hour and a half. But got my expectations knocked down real quick. And it was just the moment I opened that dang box and pulled the axle out and seen all that, that just, you know how frustrations are. You get frustrated, very frustrated when you're trying to do something. Like the more you do, the further behind you get. And I'm just tired. It's done got hot down here in the south. 96 degrees and high humidity. And I got a shop, but it still gets hot in that shop. But this is terrible. It's terrible. Look at that. That's this everything brand new, not remanufactured, but brand new. To have it damaged just like that. See, there's the sticker. So, all right, that's all I can pass on to you, except I got one tool here that I use for when you're removing that inner seal. Get you one of these little Pittsburgh 24-inch locking ring tool down at Harbor Freight. That's the best thing for removing that inner seal. You see that hook? All you got to do is reach up in that axle and get on the back side of that seal. And I put me a pair of vice grips down here to where it'll hold on to it. I take a hammer and just tap lightly. And buddy, just tap lightly back, pops the seal right out with no problem. Okay, thank you. Hey, y'all have a good day.